Miami. Quite the view, isn't it? Let me tell you a story and see if you recognize a pattern. It's about how I ended up here and why. When I was 15 in 2019, I wanted to start making some money online. So I shifted my attention from schoolwork and being a straight A student to finding different ways that I can make money through online business. So I took a risk. I stopped focusing on school, my grades dropped, and I took a risk that looked like a failure for a really long time until it wasn't. I made my first dollar from dropshipping watches online, but then I lost all the money shortly after because I didn't know how to manage it. But that experience did something really important for me because it had given me my spark. From January of 2020 until February of 2021, I tried again and again with a lot of other different business models, everything ranging from options trading to flipping couches on Facebook Marketplace, until I landed a job working for Jose Zuniga. He was moving to New York and needed people to fill his office. So I applied, I got accepted, and before I knew it, I was in his office shaking his hand. After that, if I had any point that I could build a life based off of the online business, working for Jose showed me that it was absolutely possible. So after 6 months, I quit and I took what was my 6th attempt at the time of starting my own online business, and I decided to give SMMA a try just after graduating high school in June of 2021. SMMA was beginner friendly and it seemed like it had all the upside in the world by trying it, so I started with the goal of making my first $10,000 month. At the time, in terms of college, I had a full ride to the New York Institute of Technology, but I believed in this business model so much that I wanted to just leave it. This was another major risk that I wanted to take at the time. The amount of pushback I got from everybody around me about the decision was absolutely unfathomable. Everybody was telling me that I shouldn't do it, that I should just take my full ride, and I had very little support in this decision. And I couldn't blame them. I was forfeiting full rides for prestigious technical college in New York, and even I was a little intimidated because if it didn't work out, I was gonna have to restart and be behind however many years my peers were after I had given my attempt, decided it failed, and then said, all right, I just wanna go back and be normal. But still, despite all the doubt, I burned all the boats and I decided to make plan A my only plan. I did 1 semester at NYIT, which was the fall of 2021, and that 1 semester alone confirmed for me that school wasn't for me. And after that, I took a gap to work on the business, which never ended because I actually never ended up going back to NYIT. For the entire year of 2022, I put my head down and I learned everything that I could about this agency model and building it because I literally had no other choice at that point. It was this, or I had to turn back and admit that I was wrong to everybody, and I had too much of an ego to do that. At this point, I was just desperate to make anything work except having to go back to school, and that desperation cost me a lot. During that phase at one point in time, I believe it was August of 2022, I decided to give an Amazon dropshipping business a try, and that wrong turn put me $50,000 in debt. Not to mention the fact that the money that I had just lost was investor money that I had promised I was going to give a return on very, very soon. So this was a big risk that I took, and it put me in what was the deepest pit of my life at that point. I remember I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and the amount of stress that I was experiencing from this wrong turn was so bad that I was starting to visibly see my hairline receding. And even when I was trying to recover that money, with the amount of work that I was doing with my agency at the time, I couldn't make it back if I was working 18 hours a day every day. I remember at one point, actually, the anxiety that I was getting was so bad that I locked myself in my bathroom and I was rocking back and forth just telling myself, I lost all the money, what did I do? That's how bad it was for me, and that's how bad the stress was. If this was a test of my faith or a sign for me to give up, this is as big of a sign as they come to tell you that you should give up on something. At that point, I just lost faith in myself. So I made a plan to recover from the debt and get back on the normal track of just being an average person. I didn't know to do anything else at the time except for what was somewhat of an attempt at building a marketing agency. So I decided to keep working on that just to recover from my debts, and then I was gonna leave it, and as I mentioned, get back on the normal track. October of 2022 at this point. To my surprise, the agency actually started doing well, and by February of 2023, I had paid off the $50,000 in debt. I'd hit my first $10,000 month. I had clients that were paying me consistently, and I even paid my parents' mortgage for that month. I didn't have to go back to school, and it was only up from there. But I'd be lying if I said that because I'd lost all my clients and I was back to making zero again by August of 2023. I actually had to live off of credit cards for some time because I had no other way of paying my expenses. And again, for 2 months after that, it was nothing but more sleepless nights, more doubting, and more questioning myself and why I put myself in this position. So to try and make things a little better, I took on yet another risk, or what seemed like a risk at the time, but is now one of the best decisions I ever made. I took on a partner at the agency, and that was my right-hand man, Jake. We were already good friends at the time, and we both had a drive and a passion for the business, and we were both looking to build agencies, so we figured let's just partner up and build an agency together. And just as we partnered up, we struck gold. I got us a client that was going to pay us $5,000 for what seemed like a simple 2 days worth of work only. This was our highest paying job at the time, by the way. All we had to do for the client was build them a website, set up an inventory management system, and each one of us would get to walk away with a clean $2,500. It seems easy, right? Absolutely and utterly completely wrong, because this ended up being the worst client that I ever had in my life. If there was a final boss for bad clients, it was this one. We ended up getting stuck on this job and this job only for the entirety of Q4 of 2023. And ultimately, we actually ended up walking out of that job losing money. We were lied to about the terms of the work. We had money that was held up against us as the client would refuse to pay us until we did what they wanted. And at some point in time, we were actually even accused of stealing the client's inventory, even though they had clear photo evidence of somebody else taking the inventory that they were accusing us of taking. But that's a story for a different video. At this point, after we finished this job, it was January of 2024, and I was just absolutely exhausted. I had just spent the past 2.5 years of my life working towards something that still left me with nothing. That fire that I had inside of me to take massive risks and try anything and everything that I possibly could simply wasn't there, and the fire had died down. For the first time in a while, I wanted to feel some comfort, so I went to apply for jobs. I was actually in the process of texting one of my friends that I knew that worked at CVS to ask him if his manager had any available positions for me. And the only thing they had available at the time was stocking shelves during a graveyard shift. I'll put some screenshots on the screen of the conversation I was actually having with my friend about that position. So that was it. I was putting up the white flag and I was giving up on business. It simply wasn't for me. I tried everything that I could and I just let myself go to sleep at night thinking that all the examples that I'd seen online were just lies. That same day that I was applying for the job at CVS, I was in absolute disbelief that I just couldn't make it work. All that time, energy, and effort that was invested was for nothing. Was this really my potential? Was I really that incapable? I literally couldn't sleep at night. And the part that frustrated me the most was that I actually did the work and tried, and all of that still amounted to nothing. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to live with myself if I didn't make this work and crack this equation. So in the middle of my CVS application process, I canceled it and I took on yet another risk. I had just one more idea in the bucket that I wanted to try, so I went through with it. Thankfully, Jake was still on board, so I felt better that we went into it together. We had discovered an untapped niche to build our agency around, one in which all the business owners in that niche didn't prioritize running ads or online lead generation or building an online presence. So we saw it as an opportunity for us to step into that niche and dominate the market. Lo and behold, we were actually right for once. From day one, all the clients within our niche actually took massive interest in working with us. 3 months in, we hit our first 10K month. A few months after that, our first 20K month, and then 30 and 40. And before I knew it, I was getting my own office to continue growing the business, and I had bought my dream car, which is an Aston Martin Vantage. And not too long after, now here we are in Miami, taking on the next step, yet another risk to continue growing our company. Not to mention the fact that we've helped our clients generate over $1 million in sales. We've taught multiple of our students in our coaching program to scale their own agencies to multiple 5 figures. And let's see where it goes from here. All praise is due to Allah. So in the story that I was just telling you, did you notice the pattern as to what helped me actually end up here? Can you take any guesses? No? Okay, I'll tell you. It's about leaving your comfort zone and taking risks. Every time before I saw any glimmer of success, there was a moment in which I had to recognize the weight of the decision I was about to make and analyze the pros and the cons and the losses and the gains of what could potentially happen and be okay to accept either one. As you can see from my story so far, I've taken on a lot of losses, and not just any losses, but losses that actually would have put people out of the game for good. But it didn't stop me because I had a plan and a vision in mind that I wanted to follow through with. And even after all of this, I still hadn't even scratched the surface of all the things that I plan to do. I think there are a lot of lessons that we can extract from my story so far, but the thing that I would give the most credit to when it comes to how far I've come, it's the fact that I've always continued to take risks and I have a really good relationship with failure. Each failure that I've experienced was only an attempt that showed me this is the way to not do it, so that I know for the next time I try, I can do something differently and see how that works. You do this enough times over and over, and that's what you get to call experience. So that's the how, or what we consider to be the playbook of how I actually got as far as I did. Now let's talk about why I actually moved to Miami specifically. I'm a big believer in curating the environment that's going to help you succeed. And that's why for the stage that I'm at right now, Miami makes sense for me to get to that next level. Anyone that lives here or has visited will tell you that this city has so much wealth for the taking, and nobody here makes an effort to hide it. I came here from New York City, which is the richest city in the world, but New York wealth is hidden at the top floors of skyscrapers that belong to billionaires who ride around in blacked out Escalade and spend 90% of the year in Monaco or in some yacht in the middle of the Mediterranean. These people are simply out of reach, and their inspiration is out of reach for you to get if you're the common person. In Miami, however, it's not uncommon to see your favorite influencer driving their obnoxiously loud supercar down the street for you to be able to go up to them, say hi, and ask them for some advice. When you're just starting out or you're still very early on in your journey, seeing the potential of the things that you want in life with your own eyes can change your perspective and your outlook on your entire life altogether. If you can get the opportunity to drive your dream car that you'd like to have one day, or even visit that country that you'd like to visit in one day, it changes your entire perspective and it gives you a clear visual of the things that you can chase after. For a young guy chasing wealth, Miami is the city for that. Not to mention the fact that a lot of the guys that have these things here are still young, perhaps even younger than you and I. So it makes you think, if that guy can do it, why can't I? The standard in Miami will force someone that isn't at this level to grow. Everyone here is in a constant effort and battle to improve themselves and grow. You can see it in the daily traffic when you go for a drive and there's no car that you see that's less than 6 figures. You can see it in the food that people are choosing when you go shopping at the supermarket and how everybody's making healthy decisions and healthy choices. You can see it in the gym when everybody around you is big, strong, and fit and knows how to fight. If you're not keeping up with the pace, you're simply going to feel left out and you're going to fall behind. Back in New York, I lived in Staten Island, where the average kid my age is just graduating college. They're about to start looking for a job after proudly being indefinite degree, and the highlight of their day is going to the gym with their boy in their BMW or their Mercedes. And if they have an M or an AMG, you're considered the cool guy. And this isn't a way of life that I'm looking down on, by the way. This pretty much summed up what my life was like not too long ago. However, given that I started my journey a little earlier when I was 15, now that I'm 21, I have things that other guys my age don't. And because of it, it gives me a certain level of praise from the people around me. And as best as I try to be humble, I'm no exception to the rule. The praise gets to my head sometimes, and it makes me start to feel like and think that I've actually accomplished something. It's dangerous because it put me in my comfort zone. It made me think that I've already made it to a certain degree. But that's exactly what I can't afford right now, because now that I have done something, it should only serve as a proof of concept that this works, and I only need to push the limits further. And that's exactly why I came here. In Miami, my apartment is just 5 minutes away from the city center. I was there a few days ago and I saw a guy that I know from Instagram who's 20 years old. At 20 years old, this guy has a Ferrari SF90, a white Ferrari SF90. This is a $500,000 car that he has paid in full, and he's younger than me. I feel broke again, but that's exactly what I need to grow. And just to be clear, I know that a lot of people say comparison is the thief of joy, but when you use comparison to your advantage, to look at people that are above you and say, I want to level up to be like them, that's when it becomes something positive, and that's when it plays to your benefit. This is, of course, rather than looking at a guy that's younger than me but has accomplished more and being miserable about the fact that he's done something, when what I'm doing is saying, I'm proud of him and what he did is great, but I want to level up to be like him as well. I'm now back in the position where I'm hungry again, and I'm plotting and I'm planning how to take my next steps to get to that next level. I've built the environment around me that's going to help me succeed. I work from the minute that I wake up until the minute that I go to sleep, and I have God on my side. With that being said, how can I fail? And how can you, as someone that can barely wake up in the morning, compete against someone like me? This isn't to call you out, by the way. This is just to show you that there are people out there that are willing to make this level of investment in their future success. And if I can do it, perhaps you can use me as an example that you should be able to do it as well. Ultimately, for my entire life, the goals that I have in mind consist of being able to retire my entire family so that no one for generations to come has to worry about money. I also want to build companies that provide people all over the world with real value. And ultimately, I want to be able to use my marketing knowledge and my resources to spread Islam and give da'wah to the whole world. All the things that I just listed require a massive amount of resources and an unfathomable amount of execution, so there's a lot of work to be done. With that being said, I'm also looking forward to becoming the character that will be able to handle those responsibilities in their due time. When you want something, you shouldn't chase that thing directly. You should chase becoming the person that is worthy of having those things, and before you know it, you'll find those things coming right to you. If you are worthy of something that you desire, you will be just as much of a benefit to that thing as it will be a benefit to you. God won't deprive you of such a valuable exchange. So before the upgrade in my wealth and my health and the future that I look forward to building, I'm looking forward to becoming the person that will be able to handle those responsibilities. That's why I'm out here filming this video right now, exhausted at 1 a.m. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of why I moved here is not getting comfortable. Hence the title of this video, Leave Home or Stay Average Forever. An extension of leaving home is also leaving your comfort zone. Holding the level of maturity that I have at my age, I've been lucky enough to be friends and have a mutual respect with people that are a lot older than me. This has been an extremely valuable thing for me because having access to these people and being able to call them my friends gives me insight into the different paths that my life could look like when I reach that age. An example of that being Jose Zuniga, who I worked with and I've made contact with even after I left. And even while I was working with him and now, I've had some really valuable conversations with him that have given me a lot of insight and a lot of value. I have a client that's worth 9 figures. I look up to him like an older brother. We have a good relationship and we have dinner together at least once a month. I've also had a lot of really good conversations with him that have given me a lot of value and given me things to think about days after we finish the conversation. I also regularly listen to podcasts from people that are the top 1% in the world in all metrics, and it almost feels like I'm having conversations with them as well. At the same time, on the flip side, I have older friends who are nowhere near the levels of accomplishment that I just mentioned in the previous 3 examples. Everyone has their own definition of success. The definition of success that I have is similar to that of the achievements of my client that is worth 9 figures, or Jose Zuniga or Alex Ramosi. or people in general that have done big things in terms of business and in terms of accomplishment of wealth. If there is one lesson that I've seen repeatedly taught to me by all these positive examples that I've given, it's the fact that they gain their success by leaving their bubble. Alex Hormozi left a 6-figure salary to move across the country and sleep in a gym. Jose Zuniga said that early on in his business, he got an office that he didn't think he can afford at the time, and then even after making it in Florida, he decided to move his entire family, life, and business over to New York, where he could put himself back in that uncomfortable position and grow again. My 9-figure client left a 6-figure salary at the time to start his first business, even though he already had a family and responsibilities that he needed to take care of. And there are a lot of other examples that I can give you, but the theme is common through all of them. You need to jump off of the cliff and take the risk of potentially hitting the bottom, but the potential upside of learning how to fly. If you want something you've never had, you need to do the thing you've never done. And for a lot of you that were in a similar position as me, that particular thing is leaving home. Traveling in particular and relocating to a new place is one of the easiest ways that you can reshape your identity and gain some experiences that you could have never gained if you stayed at home. It's a new environment where you know no one and no one knows you, and it offers you the opportunity to make all the changes that you want without having to face the judgment from the people that know you and notice the difference in your behaviors. And in the worst case scenario that it doesn't work out, that's when you can just go back home and go back to being average. And there's absolutely honor in that. But if you are someone, as you can see the supercars here, this is day and night. But like I was saying, if you are someone that does want to accomplish these big things, you need to take that jump and you need to take that risk. And ultimately, that's what this move was for me. I don't ever see myself giving up. And if I ever tried something, including being here, and it didn't work out, I only see it as another attempt that showed me this is the way to not do it, so that for the next time that I do try, I can try something different. I'm doing my part and the rest is in God's hands. A big part of this entire move that's very important to mention is the fact that I think it's bringing me a lot closer to Allah. I'm constantly looking for His hand in everything that I do, and I'm asking Him to bless every move that I make. And it's only with His permission that I'm going to continue growing. Take the risk. You don't know how it's going to change your life, and hopefully, potentially, maybe, it'll only be up from there. Hopefully that's what we see for me here. Bismillah. I'll see you in the next one.